Hello, so I'm back for another short lecture here on YouTube. I'm making a series of lectures on Joseki. I had a student ask me where to start learning Joseki, and of course there's lots of resources out there in print and on the internet, but sometimes it can be overwhelming with so much Joseki. There are thousands of them. So one of my teachers, Yilin Yang, said that we have probably 500 common Joseki, and as Go players we should learn all of them. But if we can't commit to 500, we could probably commit to 250. And if we can't commit to 250, we could commit to 100. And if we can't commit to 100, we can at least commit to 50 Joseki. And if we can't commit to 50 Joseki, okay, maybe we shouldn't play Go. So I'm going to start with one of the most common patterns in Joseki. It is the simple 4-4 stone, an approach, and then a pincer. So we have two real options, one defensive and one aggressive. The move at A is the defensive response, and the move at B is the aggressive response. There's lots of variations to both, and of course there's maybe other moves that we could talk about another day, more rare circumstantial moves such as attaching at C, double attacking at D or E. There's lots of options, but really for Kyu players, learning one aggressive response and one defensive response is what I recommend for all Joseki. So when do we use the aggressive response? Let's say we have a lot of strength on the right side. We could jump out and counterattack. That's, obviously you don't need such a big wall, but that's how we use the aggressive response. And if black were to defend, you can press down the corner and get even more external influence, and those two stones on the right are still not fully settled. And as far as black's concerned, they'll barely make life, and not any real points of any significance. So this is fine. The pincer would be a mistake in that case. But if the board is empty, or if black has strength on the right side, we need to go into the corner. The reason we need to go into the corner is simply because the first thing is black's going to keep us separated. We're going to draw up. And now this is a very important move that I'm going to expand upon later. But black has to extend one more time. Make a wall of 3. White will threaten to connect to his underside stone. Black will block. White will connect so he's not captured. And now at this point, both A and B are options for black. AlphaGo and some AI have started to use this move more frequently, but in most pro games we see this move. As far as a Kyu player is concerned, maybe this move is simple and good. If it's good enough for professionals for 100 years, it's pretty good for us. And this is the end of the Joseki. And let's evaluate. What white got was a good 10 to 12 points in the corner. He can make even more points on the top side if needed later. And what did black get? Well, black got an external wall. Black has Sente, it's black's move. But if we compare the normal 3-3 invasion, let's compare with the normal 3-3 invasion. Black can play this Hane. And if we just take the oldest form of the 3-3 invasion, we see in the lower left corner, this is the standard 3-3 invasion. Black's wall is robust. White is completely enclosed and crawling on the second line. And there's no white stone that is threatening black's wall. In the upper right corner, white has the R14 stone, which can be activated. It can be activated either threatening here and can eventually run out. Of course, black can play Hane. So you need some additional stones on the right side to kind of bring this stone to life, but there's ways if you have additional stones on the right. Or we can run out. Also, if running out is not really an option, we always just have Sente in game. And in the standard Joseki, we don't have any Sente in game. And white has various other moves. White can play shoulder hit, and black can have a very small territory. It depends on the whole board situation. Of course, depending on the whole board situation, white may be able to invade and use the R14 stone. So the R14 stone has considerable aji, so that's good for white. White also is not enclosed in the upper right, so if white has the opportunity, white can continue to push out and make some influence on the top side. So this is why invading the corner after a pincer is significantly better than invading the corner directly. And this is why it's the best defensive option. Because we take the territory in the corner, and even if we get separated, we use the R14 stone later. Now, sometimes if black has an additional stone on the top already, he'll allow us to connect up. And now black can play a simple move at A or B. And you can see black has blocked towards the top side with a big position. This is a little more common. You see players use this. This is also perfectly fine for white because in this variation, different than the variation where black separates the pincered stone, white has the initiative. White can move again. White has Sente. So this variation is fine for white generally. White has some potential here for cutting. White also can expand here, and black can't really hane because white can force a ko or push his way through. So frequently white has quite a bit more Sente moves over there. In the end game, white can play this, and if black doesn't defend, if black doesn't defend, there's possibility of playing moves like this, and if not, even still, we can play big endgame because black has the submit here. Black can't play this because we can create issues like that. So black has to extend directly again, in which case white can play a lot of Sente endgame, and black's area you see is only about 20 points or so, and white is perfectly happy with that because white has a good 10 points in the upper right, and white played there second. So white should never be dissatisfied with this result either. Now sometimes you'll see in Q games black blocking this way when he has no stone, and this is an outright mistake. Now some white players will get too close, but even just playing like this, if black plays like this, his stones are not being very useful. He's spent a lot of moves, they're over concentrated. White still owns the corner and has an outside group. And if black would ever check from this side, you can see that black stones are not working effectively. There's even still cutting points to worry about. So it is a major mistake for black to block in this direction without a stone around the top side, generally at one of these points. So if black does not already have a stone on the top side, it's a mistake to block in this direction. Okay. So to recap, the standard Joseki is to keep white separated, then black draws up, and black has to nobi, or extend, to make a 3-stone wall before white hanes. Now, in Q games, you'll frequently see this move. And with this move, we really have to figure out how to punish it. There's a few ways to go about punishing it. We can extend straight down like this. That's the simplest way that I recommend punishing. If black plays like this, you can cut. And there's no way for black to effectively save his stones. If black tries to save that stone, you can capture. And in here, there's no way for black to save the 3 stones. He's already dead. There's nothing black can do. Even if black tries something crazy like this, there's still nothing he can do because liberty shortage. So black is already dead. Obviously, this kills him anyway. So black's dead 3 ways to Sunday, you know? Okay. If black tries to resist somehow, there's still a lot of painfulness here. Because white can kill, and even if black has to do something like this, you see white got the corner, white has the thickness. This would be a disaster result for black as well. I've seen this type of thing happen in Q games all the time. White can also just directly capture this stone, and then black would have to try to figure out some way to salvage what he has. There's still a lot of bad Aji here, so this would be a great result for white. So what normally happens is black has to fix that cutting point, and white plays here. This is a good enough punishment. We can say this punishes black because black still needs to probably extend himself on the top side. White was allowed to take the base in the corner, keep Sente, and stay connected to the R14 stone. And the R12 stone looks a little out of place. Not so good. So this is one of the more direct ways of punishing this mistake. Just descend straight down. So if black Hanes, you can descend straight down, and black would be an overplay to block at A. Black needs to connect at B, and then white can play at A. Now, if you're more advanced, you can play this, which can transpose to the same variation if black sees it coming. But if black blocks, now white has a lot of options to punish even bigger. Sometimes white will attach here. If black fixes, this kind of lets black off the hook a little bit. We get back to the standard variation, except white and black have made this exchange, which this is a bad exchange for black because it takes away a co-threat and it also prevents attacking from the top side. But overall, this lets black a little bit off the hook. Now, if black is a very stubborn player who doesn't know all the variations, black will try to play something like this. And this is where we get into the most complicated variations that a lot of Q players are unfamiliar with. And this is kind of a trick play, we could say, by black, and it can get black into a lot of trouble, but depending on what black does, if he plays like this, it becomes the most complicated variations. But you can see and feel confident that if you're of equal strength of your opponent, white should have no trouble because white needs to have a ladder to play very severely here. To play like this. But even if white doesn't have the ladder, he can play one more. And black has to kill white like this, and still he can't quite kill yet. Let's see. Can he kill? Yes, he has enough liberties now to kill. But in this pattern, black has to spend a lot of moves to kill the territory in the corner. So normally, white is okay taking such big outside influence. White can also be even more severe here by playing a move like this. And now black has to get himself into a complicated fight here, where black has to save these stones, because if black plays in this way, white can kill. So if black saves these stones, then we get into more complicated variations again. Where you can see, even if white's corner dies, and it's not dead yet, even if white's corner dies, white gets considerable outside influence. And it's very hard to kill this corner, and black is crawling along the second line and has all sorts of liberty deficiencies because of the throw-ins and the shortage of liberties here at N19. So I don't want to show all these variations because I'm going to encourage Kyu players to not get into these. Some of these trick plays have been tried in professional games. I'm going to recommend that if your opponent hanes here, simply descend. That's the best way. And if your opponent is wise, they will connect here, and you will get this result. And this result is enough punishment because white gets the corner, white connects to R14, black does not seem to have accomplished anything by pincering at R12 because white is totally safe. And furthermore, there's no way for black to not pay an extra move. So white will end with the initiative elsewhere. Black will have to pay a move here, or sometimes I've seen black try to pay a move here. But in any case, white will end with the initiative. And if black, like many Kyu players, will not see all the complications in this variation, you can cut. So this should explain why black has to make an extra extension here, and this is our standard variation that I'm encouraging every player to learn as their essential Joseki. Now, that's it for today. Next time I'm going to cover some of the variations that stem from this, and I'll cover this as well. So we have other Josekis to cover next time from the 4-4 Pincer. And the last thing I'll add is this variation that I showed, it works regardless of where the pincer is. The same pattern comes up all the time. So whether the pincer is here 2 spaces high, or at A 1 space low, or B 1 space high, or C 2 spaces low, or even D or E, regardless of the pincer, if we invade in the 3-3 point, these variations are all possible with all the pincers. So as a white player, you can look to make those invasion and have this variation regardless of where your opponent pincers you. Alright, I hope that helps, and that's the end of this lecture today. Thank you.